Hello everybody, welcome to my July wrap-up. I managed to read 5 books in the month of July and I really enjoyed all of them. There was no disappointments, so let's get straight into it. The first book that I read was Steelheart by Sanderson. This is the first book in his Reckoners trilogy and it is a young adult fantasy. In the story it takes place on Earth and suddenly there's this mysterious orb, star, UFO type thing that appears in this guy called Calamity, and Calamity starts giving people superpowers unexplainably, and these superpowers can range from fairly minor ability to sense danger to all the way up to basically invulnerability. And the people that are somehow granted these superpowers by Calamity are called epics. The story follows David, who when he was a young kid, his father was killed by one of the major epics called Steelheart. Steelheart to me reminds me a little bit of Superman. He can fly, his skin is invulnerable to bullets, knives, so on. He can fire laser beams out of his hands. In this universe, basically governments crumble and epics take over because they can do whatever the hell they want to if they're powerful enough. Steelheart takes over the city of Chicago after killing David's father, and David grows up an orphan and devotes himself to studying the epics with the intent of killing Steelheart. At this point, everyone has basically rolled over and is playing dead to the epics, except for a group that are referred to as the Reckoners, and David sets out to join them, and he does so pretty early on in the book, and he convinces them that despite the fact that everyone thinks that Steelheart is invulnerable, that he actually has a weakness, and David has a clue to what it could be, and they need to take down Steelheart, and the novel's about them hatching and carrying out a plan to do so. This book was a pretty easy story. The plot was fairly simple and straightforward. It was Sanderson, so it was very exciting. It sucked you in. It was a very, very easy read. There was a plot at the end that I didn't fully see coming. I saw part of it, but not the full extent. I do want to get the second book in the series, which is Firefight, pretty soon, but I'm trying to find it in this edition because these covers are absolutely amazing. I would give this book like an 8 out of 10 stars. It is young adult, so it's not, in my opinion, a good representation of Sanderson's writing style in general because it is a lot more simplified than his epic fantasies, or like his Cosmere novels, but it was still very much worth reading. I very much enjoyed it, and if you have not been introduced to fantasy, this would probably be a good one to start with. Like I said, it's pretty light. I think you would enjoy it. Books 2, 3, and 4 were the Deadlock trilogy by P.T. Hylton. The trilogy consists of 3 books, book 1 being Regulation 19, book 2 being A Place Without Shadows, book 3 being The Broken Clock. I did a full review on this trilogy that I will link below. It basically follows the main character Frank Hinkle, who grew up in a small town in Tennessee and then killed somebody and was put in prison for 9 years when suddenly he's given the ability to get out of prison and he rejoins the small town and realizes that there's some funky stuff going on. To give you an idea, one of the main characters shoots a woman pretty early on in the book simply for planning to leave town, and because that's breaking one of the 19 regulations in town. Actually, at the beginning of the book it's 18. The book's kind of around the 19th regulation. But it's very good. It's a little bit of a genre bender because I don't think it fits neatly into any genre, and it's not something that I've read a lot of over the past couple of years, but I really, really, really enjoyed it. I would give the whole series like 8.5 out of 10 stars. P.T. Hylton is a independent author who's also a booktuber here, and I really think if you haven't, you should give him a try. I think you would be pleasantly surprised by him. The 5th and final book that I read, I don't actually possess a copy of. That is Star Wars Dark Disciple by Christie Golden. I eventually want to do a full review on this book because I really liked it. I didn't see any hype for it leading up to it being published, but I randomly saw it. I think it was in Books A Million, and it looked like something I wanted to read, but I didn't want to pay the like 28 bucks for it. So I found out that Scribd had a audiobook version. So I listened to that. It was very good. It was narrated by Mark Thompson, who, if you've watched his channel before, Mark Thompson is an amazing audiobook narrator. I've only heard him do Star Wars books before, but he's incredible. The concept for this book follows Quinlan Voss and Asajj Ventress. Asajj Ventress, if you follow the Clone Wars animated TV series, she's kind of a staple on there. And this book was adapted from what was originally going to be 4 episodes in the Clone Wars series, but they were never completed. So LucasArts and Disney got Christie Golden, who has done several World of Warcraft novels. And I don't play World of Warcraft. I don't know much about it other than I have a couple friends that have played in the past. But I almost want to read the novels because I was so impressed with how Christie Golden wrote this. I've read several of the new novels, and up until this one, they'd all been kind of disappointing. It almost felt like Disney was using them not so much to write good books, but just to try and increase hype for the upcoming Episode 7 movie. But this book was completely different. It was very good. In the beginning of the book, Quinlan Vos, who's a Jedi Master, is given the task of hunting down and assassinating Count Dooku because it's set during the Clone Wars, and Count Dooku is causing chaos throughout the galaxy. He's also told to team up with Asajj Ventress, who is a former apprentice of Count Dooku. And the story is about Quinlan Vos earning her trust and their attempt to kill Count Dooku. As I've said before, I think anytime you have a novel that is centered around characters that their fates are sealed in the movies, it can be a little bit difficult to create suspense. This book does a good job in the fact that Quinlan Vos and Asajj Ventress are characters that are not in the movies, and they're kind of what happens to them is the main part of the novel. But it also does a good job of using characters from the movies like Count Dooku and Obi-Wan Kenobi and Mace Windu and Yoda. So she was able to harness the nostalgia of the movies while still having the suspense of you as the reader not knowing what was going to happen to the characters. There was also a decent deal of romance in this, and if you had told me going into the novel that it was going to be a Star Wars novel with a lot of romance, I would have been a little bit suspicious, but Christie Golden was able to pull it off spectacularly. I really liked it. This is actually a book I'm going to try and get my wife to read. Anytime I read a book, I'm always wondering if it would be something she would like, and most of the books that I read, it doesn't take long for me to conclude that this is a book she probably wouldn't like, but this is one that I think she might like just because of the romance in it. I don't know if she'll read it or not because it is a Star Wars book, and I don't think she has a lot of interest in it, but I'll at least try. Also, on a little bit of a side note and really unrelated to the book, there had been a lot of hype on Twitter, or that at least that I'd seen on Twitter about this book, and I normally don't tweet authors, but after the book I decided to tweet Christie Golden and let her know that I really liked it and asked if she had any more Star Wars books in the works, and she responded pretty promptly, like within a couple of minutes, which was kind of impressive. And just for the record, she doesn't have any commitments to write any more Star Wars books, though she would like to. So if anyone from Disney or LucasArts is out there, you should definitely get Christie Golden to write another Star Wars book. She was absolutely brilliant. I absolutely loved it. I would rate it like a 9.5 out of 10 stars. It was that good. And part of it, to be fair, is probably because the other novels had been kind of a subpar quality, so it made this one stand out a little bit more. But still, it was a very nice surprise for me. Yeah, I had a very good reading month July-wise, and so far my August one is going pretty well. If I can get a review of Dark Disciple uploaded pretty soon, I'll come back and link it in the description bar below. Feel free to like or subscribe. I would also like to hear what y'all have been reading this past month or so. If there's something that you've read that you think I should read, I'm always up for suggestions. There's so many books that are already out there and that are constantly being published. There's no way that I can cover everything, but I'm always open to suggestions, especially from people who love books. If you've read any of the books that I've read, let me know. I'd like to hear your thoughts on them. And yeah, if you just want to say hi, tell me how the weather in your neck of the woods going, whatever you like, I would love to hear from you. And yeah, I guess until next time, y'all have a good day. Bye.